We've always defined ourselves by our ability to provide solutions, to do more with less, build something from nothing, to make the unknown known. But we've only just begun. And we must never forget that our greatest accomplishment cannot be behind us, because our destiny lies beyond.
Hello, friends. Uncle Marv here with another episode of the IT Business Podcast, your podcast where we try to help you run your business and support your business clients better, smarter, and faster. I want to thank you for joining me live. If you are here, this is the Wednesday live show where we try to engage with our listeners, our audience. I bring on guests and we talk about all the things that are IT related in this channel. I want to remind you that this is not just a video cast. This is an audio podcast as well. And you should go to itbusinesspodcast.com and subscribe. That way you'll get any episode that we drop, even if it's audio, because I did that just last night. I released episode 487, and it was all about offboarding and 3 best practices that you can do to keep your clients smiling as you exit out the door. And so go and follow the show on any of your social platforms, any of your podcatchers. You'll be notified anytime we drop shows, and they could be anytime, not just Wednesday nights. I do shows all the time. And hey, Eric Anthony in the house there. And thank you guys for joining. Tonight, instead of doing an opening news segment or tip, I am going to do some rants and some shout outs, or most notably, some unshout outs. Now, I know Florida is a big state, and sometimes when people visit, they'll say, dude, I was in Florida, or I'm going to Florida. Why don't you visit? And you'll tell me you're someplace like, I don't know, Tallahassee or Jacksonville. And most of the time I have to say, that's too far away. You got to give me notice. You know, Florida, if you're driving south from someplace like Pennsylvania or Canada, and you hit the Florida border, it's still like another 8 hours to get to where I am in Fort Lauderdale, Florida. So if you're in the state, or you know you're going to be in the state, give me a little notice ahead of time, you know, and maybe we can hook up. Do a lot of conferences in Orlando, the center of the state. I have clients in Tampa. I have clients in Clearwater. I have clients in, let's see, I used to have a client in Jacksonville. I've got one in Maitland, DeLand, you know, clients all over Florida. So I say this because I got an email this morning where a gentleman's like, oh yeah, I was in Fort Lauderdale last night. We should have hooked up. And I just had to say, dude, you got to give me some notice. And you got to let me know when you're here. You can't tell me after the fact. because last night actually would have been a good time. And the person I'm speaking of, I'm going to name names. Ted Roller was here in Fort Lauderdale, and I, for a good part of the afternoon and early evening, was sitting in Fort Lauderdale doing nothing. And when I say doing nothing, yeah, I was really doing nothing. I was on site waiting for a cable guy to finish because I had to get the key when he was done and return it to the client. It's a new space that they're moving into, and it took them all day to do the cable drops. So I was probably there 2 hours watching the cable guy. So I could have went and hung out and done something. It was literally down in downtown Fort Lauderdale. So Ted, next time, give me a shout out sooner. Let's see. I want to do, I should have brought this up on the screen. I am going to share a screen because I probably should give a little shout out to what I am going to call my sister podcast. The boys over at MSP Unplugged, Paco and Rick, they got listed in an article by Synchro for the top MSP podcast and YouTube channels in 2023. So congratulations, my sister podcast, doing a fantastic job over there. Also, architects of the upcoming TechCon Unplugged. And you'll hear about that a little bit later in the show. But I want to do an unshout out to what I thought were my friends over at Synchro. I mean, good God, how do I not even get a mention on this list here? Some of these shows just started, and I've been doing this for quite some time. And I mean, listen, it's not the best show on the planet. I know that, but come on. I mean, I understand why the workflow from SPs are in there. That's Synchro's own show that just started. But some of the others, I mean, yeah, they're all good shows. I'm not going to lie. I mean, all of them are, big people in the channel. Everybody knows them. I'm just some trunk slammer from Fort Lauderdale. I get it. But I gave Emily Glass, the CEO of Synchro, a mug for being voted the best podcast of 2022. I mean, that's got to count for something. So Synchro, maybe this is a punishment because last week I announced that I finished my trial and didn't make the switch. So maybe that's it. We'll see what happens. Just give me some love, a little bit of love. That's all I ask for. I do have an email announcement to share with everybody. For those of you that have paid attention to the podcast over the last year, I had brought on the CEO, founder of DioNode, the gentleman that created these portable speakers. Well, that's probably not correct. They're not portable because you plug them in, you don't really move them, but they are surround sound speakers that are not Bluetooth. They actually work through the Apple Play system, and you can play simultaneous music in multiple rooms. You can get these in sets of 3 or 5 or whatever. You can tie them all together, and it gives crystal clear audio in a true multi-room speaker setup. So I have 3 of these, and they just put out an email to let everybody know that there is a firmware update that should be done because they have fixed some of the problems that I myself even complained about. So be sure that you go to dionode.com and do the firmware update. It fixes a lot of things, such as one of the complaints is if you have them listed in your app, in your iPad or iPhone, they'll just kind of drop off every now and then. There was a couple of other major fixes. So go do your firmware update and get that taken care of. And I want to do another shout out. And first I need to actually bring up the video because I need to present this to you while I do this. I got a couple of questions last week about this mystery product reveal. And of course, the fact that it was a mystery meant I didn't know about it. It's something that the company was keeping under wraps. And so, of course, I did reach out. And what is it? So that is a quick little promo video from NetAlly. They are going to be doing a live product reveal at the RSA conference in San Francisco. No, I will not be attending, but it will be happening next week, April 25th through the 27th. They are going to be releasing a brand new product called Cyberscope or something to that effect. And essentially, it is going to be one of the handheld testers that will assist in cybersecurity testing within a network. That's all I really know, but I did confirm this is happening. I did confirm the name, and they are going to be reaching out to me in the next week or so, and we are going to be able to do a live webcast and introduce the product right here on the IT Business Podcast. I don't know if that means that I'll have one in my hand to share with you and show you and talk about how it goes, but we will be doing that. Yes, I'm going to ask them for a product, whether it's just a demo or something, but sounds pretty cool if you can walk into a client and do a cybersecurity test from a handheld tester. We'll see how it goes. So be looking out for that. All right, I think that's going to do it for the intro rants, shouts, and unshouts. I'd like to go ahead and move along and get to our guest. It's kind of an interesting little guest I have with us here. So let's sit back right after these announcements, and I'll be right back. Are you an IT business owner looking to take your business to the next level? Join us at TechCon Unplugged, a conference for IT business owners, this September 7th through the 10th at the Delta Hotels Woodbridge in New Jersey. Get one-on-one time with peers facing the same challenges as you and walk away with concrete items to help your business thrive. Don't miss out on this opportunity. Head over to www.techconunplugged.com now. The IT Business Podcast is presented by NetAlly, the #1 ally of network professionals around the world. With over 25 years of experience, NetAlly provides best-in-class tools and software that enable teams to plan, install, validate, and troubleshoot both wired and wireless networks. Their handheld networking tools can help your frontline technicians validate network connectivity in less than 10 seconds. Visit netally.com to learn more. Our live stream is funded by Computers Done Right. Are you tired of dealing with slow and outdated technology? Let their friends over at Computer Done Right in Venice, Florida help. Their expert team provides top-notch computer repair, virus removal, and technology support for both residential and commercial customers. Don't let technology frustration slow you down. Get your tech done right with Computers Done Right. Contact them today at computersdoneright.com. And thank you so much to our patron supporters, Tom, Kyle, Clark, and Synchro. I appreciate you and your contribution to the podcast. Your support helps me continue creating content that I hope you enjoy. And I want to say thank you also to our newest sponsor, Instant House Call. You have heard us talk about him before. Corey Fruitman out of Canada has been providing remote help desk support for new and emerging MSPs, IT professionals, and he has been a big supporter of podcasts in the past, especially Mike Smith over at the Mike Tech Show. Corey is joining the family here. So if you need a remote support tool that has built-in PC fix-it type products, and you can do unattended host and all sorts of things, Look for Instant House Call. To do that, you'll get a free 15 days over at instanthousecall.com. And I am joined by my newest friend. We met, when was it? December 14th, I believe was the date. Does that sound right?
Sounds right. Yeah, at that
All right.
HEB event down in Miami.
All right. The voice you hear, folks, Alicia Johnston of Bel Tech Services, and a very little interesting way that we met. So when I attend conferences, and I know we all attend conferences, and if they're small and you're sitting around a table and people are introducing themselves, after a while you just start to hear wah 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 wah, my name is cybersecurity, wah 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 wah, MSP, wah wah wah, and all of a sudden I hear Satellite Beach. And I perked up because that is not a phrase that I hear very often, if at all, in an IT conference. So Alicia Johnston introduced herself as an MSP in Satellite Beach, Florida, and I had to take notice. So Allie, welcome to the show.
Thanks for having me here. So excited. Yeah, what stood out to me is I said, Allie Johnson from Satellite Beach, and you piped up, "Go Scorps!" Scorpions are the team, our our high school team, our high
Yep.
school mascot, and I just looked around. I mean, we weren't in a very big room, and I couldn't believe it, Marv. I'm like, someone knows the Scorps? That's crazy. Yeah, so
Yeah,
we instantly became friends.
that is true. Yep. I know the Scorps. I was a Scorp. Played sports there, football, basketball, track, and graduated
Good for you.
almost with honors. But let's go ahead and introduce you and your company to everybody first, and then we'll get into some beach talk. So you are a 20-plus year veteran in our industry, but you weren't always from Satellite Beach. So tell us how you got started.
Sure. So I'm from where you're at right now, good old Fort Lauderdale. Um, Great town, love it. And spent spent my most of my career there in corporate IT, running the IT department. And I actually am one of those people that stayed at the same job for 20 years.
Really?
I did. I mean, of course, grew up and worked myself up through the ranks, but yeah, same company, 20 years.
Mm.
And so after gaining all that experience, that's when I said, you know what? Let's do this for myself. So here I am. I came out, started the business. Um, All's going well. And I needed a little break from the hustle and bustle from the South Florida area.
So it's like the hustle and bustle of tiny little Fort Lauderdale, right?
Yeah, the traffic. I think it was the traffic that got me the most. So we got out of there. I took my family up to Satellite Beach for a quieter, small town life, and that's what we've got up here. We love it.
So normally I would go right into, hey, tell me about your company and this and that. But of course, I got to ask, what made you pick Satellite Beach?
I'll tell you. So I had a couple of check boxes. Uh, Always wanted to live by the beach. Wasn't going to happen in Fort Lauderdale. Um,
Well, if you had a couple of $1,000,000,
Thank you, Marv. Thanks. Exactly. So wasn't going to happen. And the school system was a big challenge for us down there. And I wanted to have a good public school system for my daughter to go to. And so I started doing research. Next thing Brevard County came up as a great, having like an A+ school system. And I mean, that pretty much sealed the deal. And we took a ride up here. We checked it out. I took quite a few rides up here to check things out, but that was it. The school system was the checkbox that needed to be checked.
Okay. I mean, Satellite Beach isn't that big, so it wasn't like you needed all those trips to see Satellite Beach.
Right. So we started in Indialantic. We were looking at so we did the 8-mile stretch.
There we go. Yep.
And yeah, it just turned out to be Satellite Beach. And I think what really made me excited about this city is when I went to their website and looked at their program for all the things that they've got going on. I mean, if you've got a small child, this place is the place to be. I'm telling you.
Interesting. I don't think it was
Yeah.
that way when I was there.
They have so many activities for the community.
Right.
Yeah, it was a
All right.
big draw.
So without revealing your daughter's age, you said young, so obviously she's not in high school yet.
She is.
Oh, she is now? Okay.
She's driving, I'll tell you. She's 16.
Oh,
It's a whole new world for all of us.
okay. So when did you move? Because you moved before COVID, right?
2018.
Okay, so she wasn't in high school then.
Yeah.
So now I don't know exactly where you live. I know where your office is, which is basically right at the bottom end of Satellite Beach, right before you get into um, Indian Harbor Beach,
Mhm.
right there, Pine Tree Lane, right in that area.
Yeah.
So if you were on the border, so she had to go to Delora for junior high,
Yeah.
right?
Mhm.
Go Scotties.
Yeah, go Scotties, yeah.
But she wasn't in elementary school before you guys went up there.
Well, in Brevard, it's different, and I also love this that I kinda kept her a little younger for longer. In Brevard,
You lied?
6th no, no, no. 6th grade is actually still elementary school up here,
Yes, it
whereas
is.
down in Broward, it's middle school. So I kept her, like kind of like a baby-ish for an extra year, and then she went on to middle school. So she was at Ocean Breeze. We were right on the cutoff. We
Yeah.
were we were just we were north of DeSoto.
So she should have been a Holland Hornet then.
You
Oh
would
no, you said
think.
north of DeSoto, south of Cassius. Okay, I get you.
Yes. So yeah, she ended
Okay.
up going to Ocean Breeze. It was
All
wonderful.
right. My little sister went there.
Really?
Yes. I would drive my moped from school to go pick her up and then take her back so I could go to practice. And we'd have to dodge the Satellite Beach cops because you weren't allowed to piggyback people on a moped or bicycle.
Oh my gosh. Oh,
So
wow.
I would take back streets to avoid the cops while taking my sister to practice with me.
That's so funny. Yeah, here, when I have visitors, people come visit me, especially from South Florida. South Florida is different on the roads. You can speed, I'll be honest, it's anarchy on the roads down in South Florida.
Yes.
It is not that way here. So I tell all my guests that come, I'm like, do not speed. You get over that bridge, don't speed because you will get pulled over.
Yep. You can pretty much speed up the bridge,
Yep,
but not down.
correct.
So
They'll
very
get you.
interesting. Yep. All right. So you needed a slower pace because Satellite Beach is one of those areas where people go to retire.
We've got a lot of families here, though.
There is. We've got a pretty big high school for that area.
We do, yeah,
Of course, it is, a block and a half from the beach. So
exactly.
yeah.
And when the waves are good, you can see there's a lot of skipping going on. Kids going over to surf.
Yeah. All right. So when we talked about you going up there, you moved up there 2018. So you're up there a couple of years. And if I remember correctly, you were still doing the corporate gig remote, but somehow you got this entrepreneurial itch to do your own thing. So when I heard you were from Satellite Beach, of course, one of my first questions was, who starts a tech business on the beach? So tell us that story of how you made that transition.
So I think that I guess that itch came and it was going to come no matter where I was. So it didn't matter so much where I was. But I think that the less s- the less stress, I didn't have as much stress down as I did down in Fort and South Florida, and it let me really open my mind and figure things out and say, you know what, I'm done with this corporate life. Let's do it. Let's just do it. And here I go. Now, I'll be honest, I come from Fort Lauderdale. I still have tons of clients down there. So that's where most of my clients are at this point, because that's where I knew everybody,
Right.
But moving up here, now I'm starting to get into the swing of things and meeting a lot of different people, and the clients locally are coming. They're coming.
All right. So tell me, what was it specifically that you were doing in your corporate job that translated to moving over? You said you ran a team.
I did, yeah. So I ran the IT department. Um, how did that translate? So now, I'm offering, let's say, I don't even know if that fractional CTO is a mainstream word yet, but I'm really offering services to the small business that doesn't have an IT department and have really outgrown their technical skill set. And so whether I'm offering a cybersecurity, you know, EDR, or not to get too technical, but whether I'm giving them software or what, we're doing a lot of strategic planning. We're doing road mapping. Um, we're figuring out their licenses. Today I just had someone, they've got, they're way over licensed, and they're way over licensed. Let's put it that way. So I'm
Okay.
going to save them a ton of money.
Over license is usually not what we run into. It's usually the other way around.
Not in this case, it's 100% over licensing. So I'm super excited to get, hopefully I'll get that gig, because what I save them on the over licensing, I think will compensate.
All right. So now I'm going back from my memories. Now I don't visit as often as I should, and when I do visit, it's usually a pop in, pop out. So all my satellite friends always yell at me for, not telling them when I'm in town, but it's usually to see my mom. And of course, in college, when I would go home to see my mom, I'd see her and then go hang out with my friends at night. And she's always like, why do you even bother? So, but on the beach side, so the way that people should understand the geography there. So when I showed up, I was at Patrick Air Force Base. So my dad was in the Air Force, so I was a brat. And we lived on South Housing, which was just north of the school. And by the way, that's gone. It's just half of the land is empty still, and they've built some family homes there. And then there's Satellite Beach, Indian Harbor Beach, Indian Atlantic, and that's the beach side. And then really most of the stuff is across the intracoastal back on the mainland in the Melbourne area. So how much of your business is on the beach and how much is mainland?
Honestly, it's mostly beachside.
Really?
Yeah. The city has a great networking program that goes on here beachside. City officials show up to it, and I mean, every month I'm meeting more and more, business owners, beachside business owners. Yeah. And you would think, when I first started, I joined the chamber, and I love, if you're, in any city you're in, I'm just a big fan of the Chamber of Commerce. So I joined the Chamber of Commerce, but to be honest, I'm learning and getting more contacts from the beachside networking group that I do right here in Satellite Beach.
All right. Are you meeting at places like Hoagie's or any place
I'll
like that?
tell I'll tell you. So, whiskey. So he just changed the name, but it's. Do you remember? I don't know if you know, but Whiskey Beach Pub. And so he just changed the name to Cadillac Cove. He's right on A1A.
Really?
Um, yeah, it's a it's a great place. He had a small little location on A1A, and then pre-pandemic moved to a large location. And I mean, you can't miss him. He's got one of those big thatched roofs on a right on A1A. Really nice. Not on the ocean side, of course, but
All right. Now, to let everybody know, your office is also on A1A,
yes, it is.
which struck me as interesting to be just on the other side of the beach
That's it. My office is a bike ride away.
from the beach or your house.
My house.
Both.
Yeah. 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 There's like
Yep.
a little
So
pathway.
the Whiskey Beach Pub.
Yeah.
You know what? I don't think I ever visited that. So most of our people, oh, where? So so all the people that hang out now, they hang out on, and this is going to sound absolutely ridiculous because somebody just posted about it. The Spidlips is
Squid
where,
Lips? Yeah.
yeah, it's where everybody hangs out.
Well, it's a great place, but Marv, it's OTB over the bridge.
It's what?
OTB over the
Oh,
bridge.
OTB. Oh, I've been away too long.
Yeah, exactly.
Oh my. So your office is there on the beach. And now from your corporate background, so you were running a full IT department. What was the type of business that you were working for?
It was in the marine industry.
Marine insurance. Oh,
Yeah, marine. So, and then it just followed suit that most of my customers now are also in the marine industry. You know, it's who you know, right? And
yeah.
word of mouth and all of that. So, yeah.
All
Um,
right. And so you were doing, I mean, you weren't probably doing a full stack there, at least in the way that we know it as an MSP.
no,
So did you bring anything from there, or are you doing a new stack? What types of services are you doing?
100% new stack. The world was my oyster when I, broke free from there, because now I could just exactly pick and choose what I needed. And I honestly feel like there's a lot more options for us as MSPs. As a consumer, let's say as an IT director trying to go out and find something, it's I I don't know. I feel like I didn't have the right connections or resources that I do as an MSP to find new products, new technology. It's kind of like I was just being sold, what was cool, popular, and who had the best marketing at the
Right.
time, you know? So now I get to pick and choose and completely, yeah, redid the stack. I watched that company go from I started there about, let's say, 40 users, and we grew to 300. So we had, we evolved, and we saw a lot of different products. The stack changed as we grew,
Right.
but yeah, my stack's completely different now.
All right. Now, when I was looking at your website, doing a little research here, it seems that you do a heavy focus on cybersecurity. Is
Yes, I
that
do.
true? All right.
Yeah, that's if I could get on a soapbox and just talk about it all day, I would. I mean, I don't want to see people get hit. I don't want to see that. It's really tough for a small business to face that. And we all know if you get hit and you're a small business, chances are you might not survive,
Right.
depending on the level of, severity. So
Now, are you finding that you are hitting deaf ears, I should say, is probably the best way to describe it because, like you said, they're small. Well, they'll never hit us. They're never coming after us, which is a lie. It's like a crook going down the road and just, looking for open cars and windows, and they're going to take the easiest path. Doesn't matter who it is. But I read an article, and I didn't document it for the show, where it was a study in Europe that said that even though, 70, 80+% of people say, yeah, cybersecurity is important, only 15% of businesses are really truly ready for a cyber event.
I believe it. I'm sure those stats sound right on target. Yes, I my words do go on deaf ears, and what I'm just happened to me a couple weeks ago. I got a client because they got hit, and I just keep saying I hate it earning business like that way, but sometimes that's what it comes to, Marv, is an incident
Yeah.
before they act.
Now, were they hit with just like a ransomware, encrypted files? Did they have a backup? I mean, how bad was it?
It it wasn't that bad. They honestly got very lucky. It was an email compromise, and then they got into the bad actor got into the wire. Oh, this is my new wire. Please change your bank details and that, which is very interesting. It's wonderful that the person on the other side who was receiving the email, that their customer said, that doesn't sound quite right. Let me pick up the phone and call my vendor. And they did, and nothing ever happened of it, but there was still there was still a compromise.
All right. Well, that's good. Thank goodness for that.
Yeah.
So I don't know something's going on with StreamYard, but we'll keep pressing along. So the next question I was going to ask you was in your stack. So there's a lot of conversation happening in all the social media channels and stuff about should everything be bundled? How much should you make mandatory that, if you do business with us, you're going to have everything, or you're going to have this as a minimum? Do you have different levels that you're providing to them, like a minimum or, gold, silver, bronze package?
Yeah, so every on the small business side, they're all pretty unique in the way that they do things. Just talked to someone today who's using G Suite and um, 365 just for file storage. So that becomes a unique situation, doesn't it? Because okay, well now my stack includes an email security that only works for M365.
Mm,
So now I've got this G Suite customer, and okay. So now I need to protect their email. Look, it's not hard to go out and find another provider, but it's gonna complicate my stack, right?
right.
Yeah. So at the small business level, I'm finding that I have to do a lot more of tailoring the packages. But of course, I've got the basics. I mean, if you've got to I've got to put my remote stuff on there. We've got to do patch management, and we've got to put an EDR on there, right?
Yep.
So in that respect, that would be the bare minimum. Now, I think that cyber insurance, in my opinion, is going to actually dictate what our minimums are going to be, moving forward. Cyber insurance, I mean, that whole world is ever evolving. So I really think they're going to dictate what we have to do, and I do believe that standards are going to come into play. You have to have EDR, you have to have MFA enabled, you have to have email security, and you have to have cybersecurity awareness training. I mean, in my opinion, if you don't have cybersecurity awareness training, you can throw all the other tools away because one email slips through, the employee clicks on that email, it's over, you know?
So I'm still battling people that are like, well, just, come in for a day, give us the dog and pony show and we're good. And I'm like, no, it doesn't quite work that way. We need to have an ongoing awareness package. And it's still a tough sell. Are you finding that, or do you just push through?
So I do find that, and again, it really comes down to what the customer, what that organization has experienced, and unfortunately, again and again and again, they don't subscribe to what we recommend until it has hurt them already.
Right.
And I feel terrible about that, but that's pretty much what it is. I've got another client or another prospect I'm talking to, and they know that they're suffering in the employee awareness area, so they're ready to buy. They're ready to go for security awareness training. But others are like, why do I need that? That's so silly. And you know what? Really, it's not that expensive, you know? All of these little tools. I mean, okay, I know some, by the time we're all said and done, maybe it adds up, but take cybersecurity awareness training alone, it's not expensive.
No, but it's a line item. In
It is.
IT is an expense, and every time we have to add something, they're like, "Oh, you're kidding me." Um, but what's funny, you mentioned cyber insurance. That has actually gotten me more business in the last 6 months just by them going on their own to get renewed than all of the preaching that I did to them before that, because the insurance companies are helping us out by their saying, well, you got to have this, you got to have that, and you got to have multi-factor, for your secure remote desktops. And they just come back and say, okay, well, what do we need to do? And suddenly it's not about the money.
Right? Oh, Marv, you've been talking to me about, okay, now I need it. Yeah, I
Yeah.
know.
Yeah.
Yeah, we'll talk offline, about cyber insurance. But yeah, having a good cyber insurance partner, 100% necessary.
Yes, that is true. But speaking of cyber, I have this down to ask you. I saw that you were advertising cybersecurity in the Tampa area.
Hmm.
So here you go. You're moving from Fort Lauderdale up to Satellite Beach, East Coast. What the heck are you doing advertising in Tampa on the West Coast?
Yeah, so there's no real secret behind that other than SEO. You got to pick a city, right? I mean, I'm just giving away my secrets. It's okay. I'm transparent. Um, yeah, it's SEO. You got to pick a city. And so I picked a city, Orlando. I don't know. That's a big one. I picked Tampa. I said, let's see how it goes. Um, but I guess my main goal was to show, hey, we can recommend a great cyber insurance company to you.
All right. And any hits?
Yes, I do
Okay.
get hits on that. I really
Okay.
do. Um, I think I'll tell you the biggest objection though is, people are very, and I'm the same way too, with my insurance. I use an Allstate agent. They're in Fort Lauderdale. I've been using them for years. I'm not going to change,
Right.
right? So no matter what my needs are, I'm going to go to Kristen at Allstate and she's going to give me, the best whatever I need and I don't have to think about it. So I think a lot of people are using that same rationale with their cyber insurance. And what I've learned is that, that might not be the way to go because your, general insurance company doesn't really have the experience with cyber,
Right.
So I work with a company that's all they do is cyber insurance. So, and then they have a whole arsenal of MSPs, that they partner with too. So I feel like, even when you get that questionnaire, so you get a 20-page or whatever it is questionnaire about, do you have MFA? Do you have EDR? At least we can help them go through that process.
Well,
Whereas I don't think your general insurance agent can do that because they don't know about cyber.
No, they're not. And at least they're getting smart and referring to other cyber insurers, and that helps us
Yeah.
a little bit. So that'll be good. Now, I want to ask one more question before we get too far along here. Because you started your business in Satellite Beach, and if I remember correctly, you started right before or during COVID?
Oh, during. I
During.
mean, why not? Let's start a business. COVID, major pandemic, blah, blah, blah. Yeah.
So you mentioned, SEO.
Mhm,
So what types of things, because you're still technically a new business under, the 5-year mark.
mhm.
So outside of going to the chamber events and doing some networking, SEO, what types of things are you doing to, get some traction out there in the community, and what's working?
I think events like this, so whether it's a webinar, speaking events, so I do local speaking, whatever organization it is. And I've joined a bunch of women's groups. Specifically now, I just joined another professional development group. It's related to security, and there's another division of that, women in security. So I, a big portion of my time is spent out in these professional groups, and I think it's the speaking events that really um, are really helpful. So I'll be in Fort Lauderdale next month, 2 different times doing 2 different events for marine related professional development groups.
All right, the Marine Industry Association.
Yeah, exactly. So
I
it
know
seems
them.
like that's kind of where I fell into, is that the marine industry.
All right. Well, we're going to be coming up on out of time here, so I want to make sure we have time to do some other stuff. But one last question about the beach.
Okay.
Your daughter will be attending my alma mater, and is there a way that she can get access to the weight room?
I bet she can.
So I need for her to do this.
Okay.
So it has been said, but not confirmed, with pictures, that my name is still up on the wall of records. So I just need to have somebody confirm that for me, that my name is up on the wall of records
In
for,
the weight room.
yes.
I will find out and let you know.
And we good. It's sad to say this, but it was a 135 to 140 weight class.
Oh, to be young again, Marv,
Yeah.
huh?
But it was a combination of the bench, squat, and the clean. So I held the record for that. I don't know how many years. If I still hold it, that's ridiculous. But I'd like to know if that's true.
I will find out for
All right.
sure.
We'll
Yeah.
be looking forward to that. Well, that is the sound of our Florida Man segment. And for those of you that are regular listeners, you know that sound, you love that sound, where we talk about Florida Man stories. And I gave Allie the choice, Florida Man or random question. And she chose random question. But before she does that, I am going to at least read you some of the Florida Man headlines. And I haven't picked a story yet, but here's what I just put, sorted by date. Just an hour ago, most of Florida Man wasn't actually filmed in Florida. So that is referencing the Netflix series that is on with Florida Man. And that's a shame, because why wouldn't you not film in Florida? From 3 hours ago, Florida Man falls from attic after hiding from deputies. 5 hours ago, Florida man accused of choking trying to rip woman's bathing suit off at Cocoa Beach. 23 hours ago, Florida man convicted for fatal shooting in Jersey City BJ's parking lot. So, a Florida man up in Jersey getting convicted. And one day ago, big news this morning, angry man cusses out crying toddler on packed flight to Florida. So, those are your Florida man stories.
Florida, always in the news.
All right. So here is, Allie, your random question. Oh, this will be interesting, but you can talk about it in a way that you want to. But the question is, what does AI think about ChatGPT?
Oh, wow. What does AI think about ChatGPT? I don't know. We should ask ChatGPT right now what it thinks about itself.
All right.
Um,
Well, let me ask you this. While I
yeah,
would do that, and while I'm doing that, why don't you tell us, are you using AI or ChatGPT in particular for your business?
100%. I've 100% embraced it in my business, and I'm seeing tons of time saving because of it. So
When you
um,
say 100%.
I oh, no, no, no. Okay, I'm not using it 100%, but I'm all in. At
Okay.
any wherever I can use AI, I'm using it. So if it's social media posting, um, not sure how to word an email. I mean, I'm using it for everything.
Okay.
So yeah, I love it, embracing it, and I think all businesses really need to take a closer look at it and see how it can help them. Um, I know that there's some resistance from some people have a resistance to it. You know, nobody likes change and oh, what is it? It's AI, it's going to take over. Well, I don't know if it's going to take over, but it's certainly helping. Certainly saving me a lot of time in my day to day.
So there's a big debate going around the podcasting community that we don't need to actually do our own podcast anymore. We can, open up Chat GPT, throw in a question, let them draft a podcast for us, and we can then put it into one of those voicealizer things where it can give it a human voice and make a podcast. So,
I mean, you could try it. There's some things that you still need a human for. I mean, I want to see you. I want to see your face. I want to see your, facial expressions and I don't think that's going to come through in a robot, I guess,
right.
but we'll see. I mean, the robots are going to get better and better and eventually we won't be able to tell, but you know, time will tell and this AI thing it's moving fast, like in an exponential way.
Yeah. Are you worried that any of your clients might start to use it as an advanced Google to try to figure out how to solve their own problems?
I I would hope so, and I'm gonna tell you why I say I hope so. I don't need to be doing technical support. You know what I mean? Like the more they can solve on their own, the better off the business is and running honestly much smoother. So let them Google it and fix it themselves. That's great. Um, they're still going to need a technical person behind the scenes that knows what's going on and can figure out if you're over licensed or you've bought the wrong product or I don't know. There's always going to be a human aspect involved, and I think in any profession, regardless of AI.
All right. So here, so I wrote the question into Chat GPT. What does AI think about Chat GPT? And here's the answer. As an AI language model, I do not have personal opinions or emotions, and I cannot think, in quotation marks, in the way that humans do. However, I can tell you that I was designed to perform a specific task, which is to generate human like language in response to prompts or questions. In terms of my capabilities, I am able to understand natural language, process large amounts of text data, and generate coherent and contextually appropriate responses. I have been trained on a vast corpus of texts from the internet, including books, articles, and websites, which allows me to generate responses on a wide range of topics. Ultimately, the usefulness and value of a tool like ChatGPT depend on the specific application and the quality of the training data that has been used to develop the model. So,
Very dry. I mean, that was an excellent answer. That was a textbook answer, wasn't it?
it was
Yeah.
very interesting.
Mhm.
Now, I also put this question into another AI that wasn't ChatGPT because I wanted to see what was said. And this response was, there is no clear answer to what AI thinks of ChatGPT. Some critics argue that ChatGPT is not true AI and lacks the ability to truly understand the complexity of human language and conversation. Others suggest that ChatGPT is a natural language processing tool driven by AI technology that allows you to have human-like conversations and much more with the help of electric pulses. However, it is important to note that ChatGPT is a machine learning model and does not have the ability to think or have opinions like humans do.
Okay. I personally I like the textbook answer better, and I'm not sure what they meant by electric pulses,
I don't know either.
but okay. Oh.
But I do like what you said of using it to help jumpstart something like an email or a response and things like that. I've kind of played around with it. I've actually went to look at some other tools to see, which ones may respond better. And I think it kind of depends on what you're asking. I think ChatGPT, did they open up the text to go beyond 2021?
I don't think they have yet, no.
Okay.
Mm-mm. Yeah.
I think once they do that, it should be a lot better. And some of the other ones can give more up-to-date answers, but we'll see.
Bing's got theirs on their search. I've been using that. It's pretty good. And then of course Microsoft is I don't know when it's going to be released, but they've got, their Copilot in the works and super excited for that. I've got customers asking about it actually. Can I get on the beta test? And I'm like, no, we can't. We're not. There's like Fortune 100 companies on the beta list, not us.
All right. Well, Allie, thank you very much for hanging out.
Cheers. Thank you so much. Was a lot
Yep,
of fun. Next
you're
time
up,
you're down here, you better give me a ring.
I mean, up there.
I'm sorry. Yeah, up there.
Say, when you're down here, you need to give me a ring.
I will. I'll be down next month
You'll be down next month. We'll have to make that happen.
for
All
sure.
right, ladies and gentlemen, Alicia Johnston, Bel Tech Services in my hometown of Satellite Beach, Florida.
Thanks for
Storm.
having me on.
All right. Thank you all for joining us for the show. If you are listening, you can go and check out the video over at the YouTube or on the Facebook or LinkedIn. Again, if you are watching this or listening for the very first time, be sure to subscribe over at itbusinesspodcast.com and catch any episode that we post, video or audio. And while you're there, check out our sponsors and affiliates, support the show, and make it so that people like Synchro will acknowledge me as a podcast in the industry so I can have my picture up next to Paco and Rick. Christina, woohoo. See, that's what I want to see. All right, folks, that's going to do it for this episode. Thank you very much. We'll see you next week. And until then, holla.